don't think there's one best way, but I think one of the best ways is to have students self-assess and to measure themselves, to reflect on their own learning and to kind of drive their own progress so they can take it where they need to go based on what they feel like they should learn. Because you have some kindergartners who might be who already know how to read and stuff, and then you have some kindergartners who haven't been to preschool, who don't know their letters or anything. And both of them are going to be growing throughout the year. You cannot use the same measurement for both of those children, like a bubble and test. It's not fair. It doesn't have any meaning at all because they both are showing growth.
The problem is we haven't defined what it is that we mean by learning, especially for our education system. What we measure is in the moment learning. So when you're giving a test or we're giving a quiz, it's really what they can do at that moment. But dynamic learning is, something that we might want to think about. How did a student, given, you give them something and see how they can absorb that and how they perform with what information they have, how they use it. In my mind, if we can focus on the application of learning, I think that's a much better measurement of learning itself. So think about big question. Now, just an example. Think if we can ask a question like, what's the impact of our population to a kid? And if we have introduced that subject to that kid, it's what they believe, what they come out with. That's the kind of thing you want to be able to impact. Really, at the end of the day, you learn a lot of things in school, but what you apply in the end is very, very different.
This is actually kind of a controversial question because there are so many ways to measure student growth and student data. I'm not particularly against standardized testing and multiple choice testing. I think it is one way in which we need to assess kids, especially when you're talking about the fact that they take the SAT and the ACT to get into college. I think it's very, very unfair of me to say we'll never take one of those tests, we're going to do all creative learning, it's going to be great. Oh yeah, and by the way, when you're a junior, you're going to see this really hard test that you'll be able to handle, don't worry about it. That's a skill set. Taking those tests is a skill set. Right? It requires understanding of question stems and where to look and how to text mark in a text and what a question is actually asking you and how to weed out the chaff from the two pretty difficult choices that you make in A, B, C, D choices, right? So I do not think that we do kids a service by throwing those tests out. Right? They have to be prepared to take those. Even to get into graduate school, you take the GRE, right? I do think that whatever we do with kids needs to be assessed and data tracked. We can no longer say, I just have a feeling that kids get it in a classroom. We actually have to be able to look at clean, hard data and then tell ourselves, the data doesn't lie. This is actually true data.
I think it has to be embedded in the process somehow. It's not something, there's a very linear model now, you learn, you test, you learn, you test, but if there's a way that you're embedding the assessments in the context of the learning process so that you're getting feedback, the instructions changing, adapting to what the kids need, I think that would be, in my mind, the ideal situation. It's a hard thing to do.